Hi. I can't see myself. There we are. Living in Boulder vlog. November 26th, 2019, 8:16 p.m. on a Tuesday. So yesterday was my first day working on my Baz of Diocletian, which is the biggest Baz. But it's pretty much, if you look at it, pretty much the same size as a Baz of Titus, which are in my map, which is detailed, but I had to put another map on here to do Diocletian, so it's taking extra long because the detail wasn't as good. We really lucked out with whoever put this Gigantomap on Google Earth. So today, I was working until like 10 or whatever, and then I crashed and slept all day. So I'm like diurnalized, and I'm nocturnalized, and I'm just staying nocturnalized. So I have to keep remembering to look into the camera. I keep looking over here. So yesterday, like, it's going really slowly because I have to. It's not definitive. Not even with the maps. There's differing views, and it's like, where are the pools? And like, they put a pool in a place on the image on Wikipedia. They put a pool in a place where I couldn't see how there was a pool. So you kind of have to think for yourself. The One of the articles I read said that the big pool had 4,000 square meters, and I managed to make mine 4,000 square meters. It worked out great that way, so it was awesome. And then I don't know what the capacity of the theater is, the big theater, but I'm gonna try and figure that out here soon. The first thing I did when I got up today was to build the stadium. It's like the easiest thing and the coolest thing to build. And three images that I collected off of Google Images had a stadium there. So, and they all looked the same too. That had only stands on the theater side, but not on the bath side, which makes sense because that would make it so that the people in the bath would be able to watch the races without the stadiums getting in the way. So I'm going to build that. I wasn't going to. I thought it was a mistake, but then I saw the other drawings and I saw, oh wow, no, it's just a half stadium. But so then I got up and I said, okay, so what size do you want the stadium? And I thought to myself, because I know how the Romans think. If you can think like a Roman, and I think like a Roman, I know, I think I am a Roman. I think like a Roman. Romans are, you just have to follow the code. Okay, so what is the code? The code says, number one, it's symmetry. But why is it symmetry? It's the very first time they had like an empire or a big city. They're kind of building from scratch, and so the Greeks and the Romans are really into circles and squares. The Romans big time circles and squares, and just making stuff functionable and simple. Because they couldn't build. It was kind of expensive to build stuff. It wasn't like somebody on a computer working, but they could build whether they wanted. They're the magicians of cement. That's what the Pantheon's made of 2,000 years ago. It's just cement. The whole thing's cement. That then petrified into rock. So symmetry. So when you look at a Roman building, it has to be a square. They look, or a circle. Like, that's how they are. And if you have like a building on one side of the circle, well, then you put a square on top of the circle. But then you have to have that building also on all three other squares because they're all about symmetry. If you put another circle in between those two squares and, call it a building, well, then you have to do that to the other areas. And so at the end of the day, all of the buildings, like all the baths and everything, look like giant polygons. So giant, like, fractals coming out. So that's how Romans think. So even though I didn't know where the baths were, I thought like that. And I said, okay, yeah, that's where the baths must be. Just put them out in a square at the ends of the squares. And then, of course, I need to make some circle baths because, if they had square, their main bath has jagged squares and then circles. So, they had square baths and then circle baths just because that's how they thought, think like a Roman. So, oh, well, plus I saw them. I don't know if, like, if you look at images, you can actually still see them, but they're these big tubs, these elevated round basins. and those are baths that they actually bathed in. So it wasn't just baths that were recessed in the ground like the big ones. So that's why you can't see the actual baths when you look at the rooms that were supposedly have the baths, because I think it was just a bunch of basins for the cold ones. So and there's this one really famous one that's really big, and it's like they don't even know how they built it. Maybe it comes from a long time ago. A Bath of Nero, it's called. Google it. So anyway, so I got up this morning and I looked at the stadium of the Baths of Diocletian, and I said to myself, okay, that would be awesome if that stadium in the Baths of Diocletian was 400 meters, because everything that I do on my, because I'm thinking like Roman, I'm trying to be symmetrical. Everything that I do in terms of Google Earth and also with my bike racer levels, connecting space and time, and then kind of perception of it, is circled around the quarter-mile track, because they're everywhere. The 400-meter track. I built the Kingdom of Rome with all the different cities, but to show the sizes of the cities from afar, I drew in every single 400-meter track in Latium, and also every football field, because I'm going to call that just your standard field too, because I think if you like history, you should trace everything back to the beginning of time and try to find the origin of it. And so they even have a ball game called Hey Pastra that is kind of like a cross between soccer and like yeah, what else, like I guess rugby. So anyway, so then that evolved in the buildings, and actually or the sports now, but one of the two of the rooms, because it's symmetrical, are rooms specifically for that ball game. And because I looked at the word, it was in Italian, and it said, "Oh, ball game court." I said, "Okay, well, ball game, that ball game." And then I looked at the ball game, and they said how big the court was, and it was exactly pretty much the same size. It was only 2 meters wider than what we have in the baths, but it was exactly twice as long. So it was half court, like half court basketball. They had half court ball game courts right in there. So that's another sport to incorporate into ancient Rome. But also in modern day, everybody, like in high school, and everybody runs around the track. We all know what a track looks like. So it's a perfect thing to calibrate how big something is from afar and how far something is. And so I like the idea of that whole 400-meter track idea, the size of it going back till the beginning of time. Everything that we have today comes from like Rome and Mesopotamia anyway. Like the foot, they had the Roman foot and the mile and everything, just like we do, and it comes from the same thing. Like our mile comes from 1,000 feet, and a foot is your foot, and the English foot is bigger than the Roman foot, because English people are bigger than Roman people. So anyway, that's why I looked at it. And I want to be like, okay, that would be awesome if that track was a quarter mile, because we have quarter-mile tracks like in modern-day Rome and all over the place. That'd be awesome if ancient Rome could have had a quarter-mile track. And because we have the Colosseum, which is about the same size as the modern-day Colosseum. And anyway, so I built it, and it actually built perfectly a quarter mile. Like the same size as the one that I'm building on the map is the same size as the one that you see on the drawing. So it was a quarter mile. Boom! And so I made it a quarter mile. And I made the turnarounds the same exact size as in the Circus Maximus. And I don't know what the capacity of the people is, but I made the center bench 50 meters wide, and the whole distance of it is 195 meters, which is almost 200 meters. So I love how it sets up. I find that when you actively look for symmetry, you can find it. And I think that's because those guys are thinking the same way I'm thinking. So anyways, I'm almost about 10 minutes. So that's basically what I'm doing. I'm going to build the track, and then I want to find out what the capacity. Oh yeah, and the guy said, one of the guys, I can't remember, his book is lost, that it had a capacity of 3,000. So I want to find out the capacity of 3,000. Just fill up everything and make it 3,000. Anyways, so we'll see. Maybe I can do that by today or tomorrow. But this is a big project. Another 3 or 4 days or something just on this, but it's worth it. Alrighty, talk to you tomorrow. Almost at 10 minutes. Bye bye. Have a good one.